Welcome, everybody. This is the Waiting Room Podcast, and if you are watching the United States, this is an incredibly late episode. Today, I want to cover the Week 2 NFL slate, or at least games that I picked, and then preview a little bit of Week 3. And then, as always, I always have something to say, so we'll cover that when we get there. But to jump into my first game, I'm gonna get excited about the one game I'm actually excited about. It's Baltimore 36-35 over the Chiefs. I feel like most people had to have watched that game. It was Sunday Night Football. It was a game that normally gets out of hand for Baltimore, but at the same time, Baltimore manages to stick in. Lamar manages to stick in, and that's the biggest thing. Baltimore's going to go as far as Lamar goes, and at the end of the day, that's what happened. Baltimore starts the game, first drive. Lamar throws a pick, and I've seen, I don't know how many people say, oh, the receiver slipped. The receiver's on one knee by the time that Lamar tried to throw it. Throwing to a guy that's down on one knee, pretty bad. Like the worst thing that could happen did happen. And so, they come back. Second interception. Second interception was probably worse. Threw it into the middle of three guys. Hollywood Brown, despite having a fantastic game, is not a guy that will fight for a ball. He's 170 pounds. And that's on a good day, and he's not 170 pounds of, I'm going to fight for the ball. He's 170 pounds of, oh, okay, so you're small, you're fast. If you catch the ball, you're scary. If you don't get a ball wide open, what are we really getting out of you? And so Lamar throws those two interceptions that look really bad, but they get a little good fortune. They get all the way down the field. Tyson Williams gets the ball popped out of his arms. Nothing he could do about it. It was a well-placed hit where the helmet just connects with the ball. Fortunately, it lands right into Devin Duvernay's lap, and they score their first touchdown that way. Not how you want to create offense, but really, are you going to be upset when you have a guy score? No, nobody cares. Fantasy football players care. Tyson Williams fantasy owners care because nobody's going to own Devin Duvernay. We're not a passing offense. So score their first touchdown that way. The game kind of goes Kansas City's way for three quarters. Realistically, we have Travis Kelce unstoppable on his way to a long touchdown. A big part of that is having a non-coverage linebacker, Malik Harrison, covering him, and then poor tackling along the rest of the way. The biggest issue that Baltimore is going to face all season is they've got Marlon Humphrey and a lot of guys that just they aren't playing big minutes. Now, Jimmy Smith will eventually come back. Tavon Young had the first interception of Pat Mahomes' career in September. But they're going to have issues with things like just standard tackling. You wonder, how do guys get to the NFL? They can't tackle. It's easy. They're all super athletic freaks, and you kind of just throw darts at the dartboard. So, end of the day, that is something they're going to be facing all year. The team will get by on offense. It's not one of those traditional teams for Baltimore. The great run stopping. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had all of 46 yards and a game-sealing fumble at the end. But, again, Baltimore's defense right now, health reasons, a little bit of personnel, they're just not what they need to be. And it's early, maybe they come back around, but I believe injuries will hinder that to a point. The other big thing for that, Alejandro Villanueva had to fill in for All-Pro Ronnie Stanley last week. Thrashed, looked terrible. Comes around week 2, has to play left tackle where he's naturally gifted at. Again, I'm going to keep, stomping my foot for the guy. He's a good football player. I hated watching him play for the Steelers. But again, former Army Ranger, love seeing him show out for Baltimore. But he looked great. The only real pressure that they got on Lamar where he couldn't just scramble away from it is the all-out blitz, which Lamar still struggles with, where Daniel Sorensen just comes cruising up the middle and just smashes them. But all in all, Baltimore had a mostly good offensive game. They had 251 yards. The most important thing is they had an offense that just kept moving the ball. No running back had anything under 4 yards per carry, unless you count Patrick Ricard, who's a 300-pound fullback because he plays defensive tackle as well. So realistically, can't be too upset with what you saw out of Baltimore other than the kind of egregious interceptions that Lamar threw. On the other side of the ball, I mean, Patrick Mahomes did Patrick Mahomes things. The interception aside, where he really didn't see the guy just coming for his legs. The ball wobbles out, goes right into Tavon Young's hands. But again, he hit. The aforementioned Marlon Humphreys got burned, by Demarcus Robinson, who Demarcus Robinson's not he's an NFL wide receiver, but he's not a guy that should be burning the top corner on the team. Byron Pringle had a long touchdown. Again, not the best guys covering him. But Patrick Mahomes did, Patrick Mahomes things. Realistically, the question is for them is the defense going to come around? Everybody knows they're able to score 30 points a game. 30 on a walk. I mean, they might have struggled week one. It's week one. Cleveland's also a good team. But against two good teams, Baltimore looking a little less good on defense, two good teams, realistically, they're going to get 30 points. The issue is, will that defense come back around? And realistically, you don't know. They have good individual players, whether you're talking about Chris Jones, whether you're talking about Tyrann Mathieu. But again, you have guys on that roster that you kind of have to wonder about. So realistically, Kansas City's biggest question going to week 3 is, will that defense come back around? Because they do play in a division with the only 2 other 2-0 teams. By the way, my pick was right. And again, I will tell you guys, I'll more likely than not pick Baltimore every week, unless I just see something that is like there's no way. But my first pick of the week was right. I got to be happy about it. Moving on to the second game I picked last week, 49ers-Eagles. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty for either team. Jalen Hurts showed that he's still not throwing the ball deep, unless you include, a play where the defensive back trips and, Quez Watkins is wide open. He gets 91 yards downfield, but typically you get a 90-yard pass, you're thinking touchdown. Guy catches up to them, they settle for a field goal. Again, you take away the 91-yard pass, and Jalen Hurts ends up with 99 yards. He goes 12 of 23. Again, he's a guy you still have question marks about. It's why I don't love the Eagles. Their defensive line looks great, but part of their defensive line looking great could be an issue with, hey, the 49ers are hurt. 49ers are injured just about as much as Baltimore is at the running back position. So they're just kind of plugging and playing guys. On that side of the ball, the running backs for the 49ers average 3 yards a carry. It's not what you want to see, but what are you going to expect from guys that are, hurt, inexperienced, playing, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave? They have a good defensive front, but realistically, you expect a little more against a so-so Philly D. Again, it's just how I feel about them. As far as their pass game goes, Jimmy G, he's not doing great things. He's not doing bad things. He's 22 of 30. He throws a touchdown, but he's not making big throws. He's doing just enough to keep his job. But again, 17 to 11, you kind of think, oh, well, are they going to do something different? Are they going to switch it to Trey Lance? Are they going to either say Jimmy, make mistakes while trying to throw, deep, do something? But again, he's not making bad plays. He's just not making any great plays. And that's why the score is so close, on top of some injuries. Philly, their run game was great, but The running backs had 69 of their 151 yards. Jalen Hurts came up with a lot of scramble plays, including their touchdown. That's great. But again, the reason that I wasn't super high on Philly and why I thought that week one was a mirage, it was a lot of, hey, we beat up a bad team. San Francisco, a little bit better team, has a lot more experience. That's why they came away with the win this week. But the big question for them heading into week three, they had, outside of the Quez Watkins play, they had no big plays and they have no pass rush. Jimmy G is not a mobile guy. So if you're talking about not being able to get to a guy that kind of has to stand in one place a lot, he's a little mobile. But again, you're talking about a guy who's had multiple knee injuries. If you're not getting to him, you kind of wonder what chance do they have against a better team. And unfortunately, next week they play a better team. So we'll see how they go. And again, I picked 49ers, 2-0, baby. My third game, Pats and Jets. Bill Belichick eats rookie quarterbacks. That's all you really need to say. There's 25-6. 25-6 Pats. Bill Belichick, when given the opportunity, eats rookie quarterbacks. The defense, 4 sacks, 4 interceptions. Zach Wilson looked like he was the 202nd pick, not the second overall pick. It was really bad. Again, he may just be trying to figure stuff out. You see guys all the time. Trevor Lawrence is an example. You see guys trying to just, hey, what can I do? What can I not? But 4 interceptions later, you kind of figure maybe there's something that you need to try different. The run game, 150 yards. The rookie looked good. Ty Johnson looked good. There were some good takeaways, but again, the real worry is, hey, do we have our quarterback? The Jets are one of those teams. They kind of have to ask that every year for about 20 years is, do we have a quarterback? And, sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. But again, they had Mark Sanchez and decided one day after butt fumble, we don't have our quarterback. Zach Wilson's the second overall pick. This is the second game of his career. He's not going away anytime soon, but again, is he this bad or is he just trying to figure out what he can and can't do in his early games? Also, is Bill Belichick just hating rookie quarterbacks? Not his own. His own was the only rookie QB not to throw that played and didn't throw an interception this week. Mack Jones, overall, he goes 22 of 30, 186 yards. He's being asked to do his best early Tom Brady impression. Hey, just manage the game. Don't turn the ball over. Hand it off. Throw the short, easy passes. And that's what he did. No touchdowns, no interceptions, just 22 of 30. I'm gonna complete at a high rate. Take the plays that you can. Don't mess it up when you can't. The Jets might have had a little bit to play in that. They did have 3 sacks. Again, Mack Jones is a fairly mobile guy, so we have some good to look at for the Jets. But again, Mack Jones just isn't going to make a whole lot of his mistakes. He's not going to make Zach Wilson amounts of mistakes. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at with the Patriots right now. Again, their defense is always going to be for real. Bill Belichick made his money, made his name on defense, whether he was with Cleveland, the Jets. Well, the Jets didn't really work out, but everybody knows the guy is on his defensive shit. So again, you have to wonder, hey, if they're going to get by game managing Mack Jones, if they're going to get by just all defense, they might be fine. I really sincerely think that they're going to game manage their way to a playoff spot. Yeah, they lost last week, but they lost to a division rival that has a good roster. If you're asking, to bump rosters, Miami versus the Jets, you might want to start looking at the coaching more than anything. But again, I could easily see the Patriots game managing their way to 10 wins and, walking into the playoffs. It doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility. But again, I picked the Pats 3-0. Unfortunately, That's where my luck ran out. Now I will preface this with, you all know I don't like Josh Allen. Josh Allen to me is a athletically skilled guy playing quarterback. That's what he is. Now we typically attribute that to black quarterbacks, but no, Josh Allen. Josh Allen has a strong arm. He's an athletic dude playing the position of quarterback. He could easily be Tim Tebow. He could have been an H back. He could have been a tight end. That's where I sit with Josh Allen. So Josh Allen goes 17 of 33. Doesn't have any big plays. He has 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. This game's never close. It's 35-0. A big reason it's never close is Tua gets knocked out in the first quarter. I can't say that really had too much to factor into it. Tua had 6 dropbacks. He had 1 of 4 completions, including the one where he gets knocked out of the game, and then 2 sacks. I don't know that Tua is making that offense hum any better, but I don't think Buffalo's defense is that good. I think it's better than what people might think it is, but I don't think it's a 0-point team. I think it's closer to what we saw in Week 1 against Pittsburgh. But again, you throw out Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett, he's a plug-in QB. When something bad happens, and he doesn't embarrass himself. He has 1 interception that was not great, not terrible. But again, there wasn't a whole lot that was going to help Miami in this game, especially after their starting quarterback gets knocked out. Realistically, they still have one of the better defensive backfields, and that's kind of what they were hoping for is, hey, maybe we'll be able to manage it. But out of all the guys that touch the ball, no skill player for Miami has 50 yards from scrimmage, including, if you combine running backs with their receiving yards. They just don't have it. And part of that is you've got boomer bust guys like Devontae Parker, who you're going to have 150 yards one week and 20 yards the next. You have Jalen Waddle, who's probably their best offensive playmaker. You know what? He can have a terrible game. It's just he's not going to have huge games right off the bat. Will Fuller should come back at some point. Mike Gesicki is a good option. But again, their offensive line didn't look great. Buffalo's offense, while it didn't look spectacular, again, I said Josh Allen had 17 of 33, 2 touchdowns, interception. Their running backs, Singletary and Moss, had collectively 3 touchdowns on the ground. They didn't look bad, but the defense was what made the difference. They were at will getting to the quarterback. They had 6 total sacks. They had the interception. Again, they're going to make their bones, at least in my eyes, they're going to make their bones off of how well the defense plays. Josh Allen could just be starting slow, and that's the question I ask. At least for Buffalo, is Josh Allen just starting out slow, or is he reverting back to who he was? Because I said all the things that happened in the COVID year don't mean a whole lot to me. They didn't have camp, really. They didn't have all of that training time that they would. A lot of people were shut indoors. So is Josh Allen, going back to who he was pre-COVID? Who knows? With Miami, the question is, can they play without Tua? Again, Jacoby Brissett's able to start a full season, but I don't think he's going to be a playoff guy. Much like Ryan Fitzpatrick, he'll be able to make plays. He'll be able to make plays in a different way because he's a little more mobile. But again, are they going to be able to run an offense without Tua? Guys are used to consistency. They're used to, hey, this guy moves this way. This guy leads the ball this way when you're playing offense. But again, you're not really sure with that. On top of the fact that they don't really have a running back. Myles Gaskins, Ahmed is Like they have guys that, like, oh, that's not a terrible piece, but you're not going to be able to hand them the ball 15, 20 times a game and say, oh, I'm really happy with that. But that is what it is. Miami is going to live and die on that defense a lot, but can that offense get going? Again, we're 2 weeks in. There's nothing set in stone yet, except maybe the Kansas City offense. But there's nothing set in stone. It's just the questions I have for them. But that is my recap for the games I picked last week. I know there's some other entertaining ones. We had, we had the Bucks, we had Atlanta get good for a little bit. Uh, Eventually talent wins out. There was some bad luck with Atlanta, but realistically, Tom Brady throwing 5 touchdowns was the big difference in this game. We had Seattle, the only team in the NFC West with a loss now, just kind of get beaten up by Derrick Henry, and can't really give Seattle too much crap for that. Seattle has a good team. They scored 30 points. Typically, you don't think you're losing scoring 30 points, but again, tackling Derrick Henry for a full game just has to suck. So, they end up losing that game. And then, much to the dismay of my brother, who's a huge Charger fan, they get a couple touchdowns called back. The game, kind of just devolves to what it is, which just was a penalty fest. I still don't love some of the officiating early, but I feel like we're going to say we don't like the officiating late in the season too. But comes down to a field goal. Greg Zuerlein is known for hitting big field goals, even though he had a bad ending to his time in LA. But he hits his game winner. It's kind of what happens. You ask for trouble like that. But again, I think the Chargers did what they could with what they had, which unfortunately was affected by some untimely penalties. So that is my week 2 wrap up. I want to jump to week 3. Again, what I'm probably going to do every week is pick 4-ish games and tell you what I think. If you guys want more, if you guys want less, that's what social media is for. Contact me, shoot a message, say, hey, this is what I want I want to hear from. So my first game of the week, Chiefs Chargers. As I said, Chargers coming off that hard loss. I don't know if the Chiefs, you could probably consider the Chiefs a little bit harder because, say, Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't fumble at the end of the game, they have a chance to win the game on a field goal. And we're talking about the disappointment of Baltimore and how Kansas City just is always going to be able to come back on teams, which is largely true. But they're both coming off of hard losses. It's a division rivalry. It's a good game. It typically is. Patrick Mahomes is usually getting the better of it, though. And that's kind of where I'm sitting with it. Tyreek Hill had a quiet game against Baltimore. It's not often Tyreek Hill has consecutive quiet games. However, in these games I pick, I want to pick up a matchup, and that's what I'm picking. Is we've got Tyreek Hill, we've got Derwin James. Derwin James has been plagued by injuries since he came into the NFL. He's one of the most talented safeties in the league. But again, there will be times where he's capable of being matched up on a Tyreek Hill, and that's the matchup I want to see. I want to see Derwin James and Tyreek Hill fighting it out because they're just two fantastic players. Do I think Tyreek Hill's a trash person? Sure do. Is he a talented football player? Sure is. But again, that's my matchup for the week in that game. I don't really have a whole lot more to say on that. I feel like it's going to be a high-scoring game. But again, I am picking the Chiefs just based on the fact that I think that they can walk into 30 points. That's it. Until I see LA come in with a full game of defense. Because that was the other issue they had, is they just kind of fell apart on defense. But until they put it all together, until Kansas City shows that they just can't score 30 points against good teams, I'm going to say, it's going to be Kansas City this week. My next game for the week, Pat Saints. Again, they're kind of, it's a matchup of opposites. It's a matchup of, hey, this guy does not make mistakes versus, hey, this guy, I wouldn't say Jameis Winston loves to make mistakes. I'd say Jameis Winston is just kind of that guy who will, make decisions based on how he sees fit. And, sometimes that's to the detriment of your team. Now, Carolina has a good defense. They were coming at him at will. But New Orleans has one of the best O-lines in the league, end of the day. One of the best O-lines, maybe one of the weakest receiver rooms, regardless of what we saw week 1. So again, you're battling two guys that just play entirely differently. Mack Jones, as I said, will be a game manager. He will be a guy who will just, okay, you guys You guys are going to give me a few yards. I'll take a few yards. He's not going to throw you out of games, or at least that's what he's showing so far. Again, as we get deeper into the season, as we get deeper into his career, he might be a little more prone to, hey, I'm gonna chuck it deep. For right now, that's not where we're at. So Mack Jones ain't that's kind of what we're thinking about. Hey, who's going to mess it up worse? My matchup for the week, it's the Bucks. Sorry, it's the Pats D line pass rush versus that Saints O line. Now again, the Saints O line can block all day, but if we're going to be giving up yards and points and all that, it's not going to matter. Realistically, you're looking at a Patriots defense that gets after guys that make mistakes. James is one of those guys. Now, on the other side, again, Mack Jones, I don't know what to make of New Orleans defense. So the reason I'm not picking, either of those matchups for the week is just it's going to come down to the Patriots defense and that O-line. That's it. So again, for the week, I'm picking the Pats. Don't love doing it, especially just the history between Baltimore and New England. Don't love doing it, but they're going to win this game. I don't see the reason that they're not forcing Jameis into mistakes unless just something crazy happens. My third game for the week, Bucks Rams. Come on, it's Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady. We're always going to be entertained until he's gone. It's Tom Brady is going to be like LeBron James. We're going to kind of hate on him, but at the end of the day, gosh, that guy's talented. We love watching him. He does amazing things, regardless of his age. But again, we can't ignore the fact that on the other side of the ball, LA's got the nastiest defensive player in a long time. Aaron Donald just is a game wrecker. He's the reason that you have a bunch of guys that you don't know. I couldn't name another defensive lineman. I know Leonard Floyd plays linebacker for them. And again, I try to know names for who's on what team. But I mean, who really is around Aaron Donald that you're like, well, that's the other reason they're doing great. And Jalen Ramsey's in the defensive backfield, fantastic corner, but all they have to do is throw to the other guy. That's all they have to do, throw to the other guy. But Aaron Donald makes you have to make decisions faster. And Tom Brady's old. Tom Brady's not outrunning Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is a scary man to be having chase you. I wouldn't want him chasing, and I'm 32. I'm a decade younger than Brady, and I'm still like, no, I don't want that guy chasing me. I don't think I could run away. Actually, I know I can't run away. For Tampa's defense, we saw Mike Edwards have 2 pick sixes. It's really nice to see defensive touchdowns. I don't know about you guys. I like seeing it because that means the defense is actually trying. Again, there was some bad luck into it. So it was that for real? I don't know. We all know that Tampa has names on their D-line. They have Sue. They have Vita Vea. In their linebacking core, they have Levante David. They have Devin White. Defensive backfield, okay. They have Carlton Davis that's healthy. They have, Antoine Winfield Jr. Okay, but who else? That's why my matchup for this game, I'm going to say it's going to be that it's going to be Matt Stafford against the defensive backfield. Tampa Bay, again, had a good game. We are going to react the way we do week to week, but some of it's real. Some of it's real. It's a real worry, regardless of if it happens week to week. I will worry about Baltimore's defense all week, every week. I just will. Nature of injuries, I'm going to worry. Now, with Tampa Bay, I'm going to worry about their defensive backfield. Is it made easier by, having guys like Shaq Barrett rushing the passer and Ndamukong Suh rushing the passer, Vita Vea? Yeah, sure. But at the end of the day, we're going to scheme to, get guys open. And Cooper Kupp had a fantastic week last week. He was most of the offense, most of the passing offense for the Rams last week. But again, you have to cover guys, and I don't know that they can consistently do that. So I'll say the matchup for the week is definitely Stafford versus those defensive backs. Because of that, I'm also picking the Rams. I don't see that defensive backfield can cover everything that LA has, especially with Sean McVay just having a mind for moving the ball. I don't know that Tom Brady can really get away from the havoc that is Aaron Donald. So I'm picking the Rams this week. My last pick this week, much to the dismay of my buddy Joe, it's going to be the Packers 49ers. And I'm going to pick the Packers. And the reason I'm going to pick the Packers is Aaron Rodgers has the best middle finger metaphorically in the game. He is a guy who, he's like, oh, you think I'm bad. Now, I will tell everyone I had hoped he was just going to go on a middle finger tour of the Green Bay Packers and just be terrible all year. But he kind of showed against the Lions, who aren't a great team. And it took him a little time to get going. But he showed against the Lions that, hey, like I'm going to do things. Now, for some that somehow don't remember it, it's something that gets talked about every time they play. But Aaron Rodgers was skipped over by the San Francisco 49ers as a product of University of California. Got skipped over by the 49ers. Now, I think part of his career is defined by the fact that he was skipped over by almost every team, and he's done his best to kind of throw a middle finger at the league, and that's why I think that he's going to throw a huge middle finger up at San Francisco and say, you know what, I wasn't good enough for you then. I'm gonna make you regret it now. That's how I feel every time he plays them. Is he's always trying to give them the middle finger. Doesn't always work out, but that coupled with, are you really scared of Jimmy G? I don't care that Packers don't really have a pass rush. I don't care that their defense isn't that good. I don't care that Kevin King gets played every week and somehow keeps getting burned and played every week. Don't care. Aaron Rodgers has the best middle finger in the NFL. Now, with that, the matchup for that week, it's got to be just kind of like some of the other ones. It's going to be that pass rush from the 49ers, who it's one of the only intact units on their team. But the pass rush of the 49ers, having guys like Javon Kinlaw, having Nick Bosa, having Dee Ford, having all of these guys that can get after the quarterback, with Fred Warner, one of the best middle linebackers, covering behind them, it's going to be the defining thing. David Bakhtiari is still out, so they're just kind of playing, hey, can we protect you long enough for this to for you to get rid of the ball? We saw last week Aaron Rodgers missed a couple of deep throws. I feel like that's what happens when you don't come to training camp. I just don't see it as a big deal. I feel like with the injuries that the 49ers have, coupled with the fact that just, again, Aaron Rodgers' biggest middle finger in the game, I feel like if Green Bay can hold off just enough, it's going to be a Green Bay win, and it's going to be ugly. It might be like that Detroit game where it's close for a little bit. Realistically, we're looking at an ugly game coming our way. And that's my recap for the week, or at least my preview for week 3. Again, tomorrow we've got a game that was a whole lot better when Tyrod Taylor was playing. Now it's Davis Mills, who I just see getting ransacked by the Carolina defense. Houston is a veteran-laden team. I think that's why they won that first game, why they were able to stick against the Browns until Tyrod got hurt. They're a veteran-laden team. It's going to be hard to blow them out, but it's going to be made harder by a rookie quarterback who, is seeing a really scary athletic defense. So, we have that coming tomorrow. But yeah, that is my preview for week 3. As I said in the beginning, I try to have something, life related for you guys. And so this week it's I'm sure I've said something to this effect before, but it's never too late to try. And in this regards, I will apply it specifically to, just doing new things. I am 14 years into a military career, and in the military, they offer certain educational programs. Some people come in with degrees, and so some of those educational things are just kind of handed out. So in the Air Force, it's called the Community College of the Air Force. They offer a degree. Honestly, I don't know how meaningless it is outside, but it's not the equivalent of what an associate's is. But again, it's one of those career goals that you have to try. 14 years in is a really late time to get something like that. But when you look at stuff like that, you kind of wonder, is it too late? Well, I asked myself that same question when I knew I was deploying. I said, is it too late for me to do something like this? Fortunately, I went to my education office and said, you know what, I've been through two different career field trainings. I've taken a handful of college classes. Where am I at? And the lady politely told me that I was one class short of my degree for the Community College of the Air Force in criminal justice. It feels really silly being 14 years in, and I went to my technical training 3-4 years ago. So for 3 or 4 years, I've been one class short of something that may not help me on the outside of the military, but something that looks wonderful on paper. Wonderful on paper. If you're in the military, it is something that for career progression, maybe not so much in the reserves like I am, but in active duty is looked upon favorably. You want to get degrees. You want to push for a higher education. That's what they want from you. That's what for a while I pushed hard on it, and then I stopped, and then I let people stop me, and then I stopped trying. And then I was like, is it too late? And I've been one class short for 4 years. Well, I've enrolled in my classes. I'm going to knock it out. I will have my degree that may or may not be meaningless outside of the military, but I'm trying. We get plenty of people that, that do that. They say, hey, is it too late for me to try? Am I getting too old? Is it too late to start this? Is it too late to start a family? Is it too late to find love? Is it too late to learn a skill? No, it's not. No, I can't tell you exactly who the person is, but I can tell you I have a family member that's currently working his butt off and potentially try out for an elite group of contributors to the U.S. military. He's 32. He's never been super out of shape, but he's never been the shape he is now. But he's 32. He said, you know what, at 32, I just want to, see if I can do it. It may or may not lead anywhere. But at 31, he decided he was going to change his life and try for something. It's not old. You guys hear me every week trying to promote Jason at the Arizona Flag Company. He found his hobby turned business in his 40s. He's not too late. My mother ran her first marathon in her 40s. 50s? I don't know. Late 40s, early 50s. It's one of those things that if you kind of just keep trying, you'll be amazed what you find. And I know it sounds preachy and soapboxy, and Kyle, we fucking know. I get it. I do. These are all things you know. But if you know them, then why aren't you trying? I'll tell you now, there's, a lot of people in my life that are doing new things later in their lives because they were doing something else earlier in their lives. They were trying to figure out what their life meant. They were trying to do something and found out that it made them unhappy. Some of them are trying to finish a military career just so they could follow what they wanted later in their life. But they're trying. That's all you got to do. Try. It's never too late to try. Now, the last thing I want you guys to at least try is try to change the way you think, because that's something that's never too late. I grew up in Northern California. Northern California is so much like Texas; it's scary sometimes. Uh, they all have these very closely held beliefs, and some of them are good, some of them aren't. But the more that I talk to these people, the more that I see that they're changing the way that they think. They're opening themselves up for experience. And, surprisingly, they didn't leave home to do that. I can't say that I would have been able to change the way I think and feel about stuff if I hadn't left home. Matter of fact, that's specifically the reason I left where I live, because I just wanted to get to know other people, other cultures. I wanted to see the world. And along with our trying theme, I tried and I've seen all 7 continents. Not the best parts of all of those 7 continents, but hey, I can tell people I've been to Antarctica. Antarctica. Why is that word so hard to say? Antarctica twice. It's not a big deal. There's nothing there. It's 2, it's 2 trips to a big block of ice. That's it. I got to see a penguin. That was the most exciting part. I also found out if you touch that penguin, it's like a $10,000 fine and some jail time. I don't know which country's jail, but I didn't want to find out, so I didn't touch the penguin. But again, you try. That's all it is. If there's something that you want to do, something you want to change, try. That's all you got to do. And now I'm going to hop off of my soapbox. We're at the point in the show where I promote all my friends. So that's what I want to do. As I always start out, Taj TV, my buddy Taj, we worked the prison together. Great dude, funny dude, guy who has got a mentality built towards goal setting, goal getting. He brought back Trash Bag Tuesdays. Maybe I can't say they're my favorite because I love all of his content, but some of my favorite stuff done was Taj on Tuesdays. So he's brought back Trash Bag Tuesdays, along with probably still doing his weekly show on Saturdays. So again, Taj TV, TAIJH TV. You can find him on all social medias, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I don't know if he has a Snapchat that he's trying to get people to follow, but he's probably there too. We've got Marcus over the Truth Valley Church. Man, I love that guy. I love the message he spreads. I wish I was able to catch more of what he does. I really do. But I want you to catch it. I want you guys to tune in. Again, they've got a ministry in Arizona, but you can catch it online. You can catch it online that day. You can catch it online later. But again, Truth Valley Church on Facebook. Go take a look. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Jason over at the Arizona Flag Company, man, I love his work. I do. One of the first things I'm doing when I get back from this deployment and get back into the state of Arizona is getting something commissioned from him because I love the work he does. As I've said before, he does 10% off for mentioning the podcast. I'll just give him a shout, ask, hey, can you do this for me? I almost guarantee he says yes, because he wants to do stuff for you. Yes, it's a business, but he's a great guy. So again, reach out to him, the Arizona Flag Company. You'll find him on Facebook as well. And lastly, Joe and Sean on the Out of Bounds podcast. I'm going to keep covering sports, but gosh, those guys make it sound so good. I love hearing them talk. I think we're doing twice a week now. They're fantastic to listen to. I love listening to them. I disagree with them a whole lot, just based on kind of where we sit with sports and politics, but that's the whole point of changing how we think, is getting people that disagree with us, or just saying, hey, this is why I believe this. Oh, you believe that? Oh, cool. We're still buds. Boom. But Out of Bounds podcast, you can find them, Out of Bounds with a Z, Out of Bounds. You can find them on pretty much any of the places you find podcasts. You'll find them on Apple Podcasts. You'll find them on Spotify. Again, Out of Bounds, Joe and Sean. They're great to listen to. Guys, I have exciting news. My patches are currently being commissioned. I will post a picture of them I already did post it on the group page. I'll post it on the pod once it's finished being, completed. But again, I'm excited. If you want them, reach out to me. Let me know. Again, thank you for supporting. If you want to keep supporting, again, questions, stuff you want to talk about, kyletheweight@gmail.com, Instagram, WR Podcast Official, and again, it's on YouTube. I do have my Cash App running. That's if you want to just throw money so I can keep trying to grow this podcast, make it a little more efficient, maybe start editing so a lot of these uhs, and when I get confused, gets edited out. Guys, I appreciate all the support. I really do. This is a fun thing for me to get to do. I get to talk to you guys. It's given me the ability to reach out to more people. So I appreciate you guys. As always, I'm going to end the show with keep being kind to each other. And until the next time I can post one, I appreciate you guys. Later.